If you want to learn how to make this donut keychain, stay tuned. Before we get into it, click that subscribe button. Okay, we're going to need our stitch marker, and I always mention this first because I always forget it. We're going to use a yarn needle. We're going to need a thread needle. We're going to be using a 4mm crochet hook. We need our scissors. We need our different color sprinkles thread. We're going to use this color for the donut. And we need our pliers and a glue gun. We're going to need some stuffing too. Don't forget your white fleece too. To start, we're going to chain 15. Once we have our chain, we're going to join it to the beginning and form a loop. We're going to make sure we're not going to twist that. We're going to chain 1, and then for this row we're going to do just a simple single crochet in each chain all the way around. So this is what it should look like at this point. And then in this second row, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. Make sure you put your stitch marker in. Okay, we're coming up on row 3. Take out your stitch marker, and in the parentheses we're going to be following the pattern of 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and we repeat that pattern all the way around. And make sure you put your stitch marker in. Okay, we're coming up on row 4 here. And for this row, we're going to be just evenly single crochet all the way around. The ring should start looking like this. Now we're moving on to row number 5, and in parentheses we're going to be repeating the pattern of a single crochet decrease, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And so this is how we do a single crochet decrease. We pull up a loop in the next stitch, and then we pull up a loop in the next stitch after that. So we're pulling up a loop in 2 stitches and we're tying them together. And then we'll single crochet in the next stitch. Let's see that single crochet decrease again. We pull up a loop in the next stitch, pull up a loop in the stitch after that. We'll have 3 on the hook. We yarn over and we pull through all 3 of those loops. So we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. Don't forget your stitch marker. So by this point, it should start to bend under, as you can see here. Okay, for rows 6 through 8, so that's 3 rows, we're going to be evenly single crochet all the way around. So for row number 9, we're going to do a single crochet decrease and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. For row number 10, we're going to do the same thing. Again, don't forget your stitch marker. For row 11 and 12, we're going to be doing single crochet evenly all the way around. We're going to be doing it for 2 rows, 11 and 12. And then here's the part where we're going to finish off the yarn. So you take out your stitch marker, and then what I like to do is do a slip stitch in the next stitch. I like to take and cut the yarn, and then I just take and I pull that end all the way through and then tighten it, and it's not going to come loose. Make sure you leave a tail long enough so that you can sew later. This is what the last row should look like. Now we're going to turn it over and start working on the other side where we started from. So attach some yarn to your hook. And then on the other side, we're just going to be single crochet evenly all the way around. And it should be 15 stitches because we started with a chain 15. So it should be 15 stitches. If it isn't, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It still will look the same. So for this next row, we are just going to do the same thing. We're going to single crochet evenly, and we're going to put our stitch marker in just to make sure we don't do too much. And then we're just going to evenly single crochet. Next, we're going to cut our yarn. We're going to take out our stitch marker, and then we're going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch there. And then we're going to pull the end all the way through. Boop. And this is how it should be looking. Doesn't look much like a donut. But here's the part that we're going to try to make it look like a donut. We're going to squish in the sides here. We gave ourselves enough room so that we can start stuffing it as we're sewing it. So attach your thread or your yarn to your needle there and just start sewing. Making sure that we are keeping the shape and making sure we're just sewing not through the donut, but on each end, the first row and the last row. So we're just sewing those ends together. So after we've sewn a little bit, we're going to start stuffing it. And we are only going to stuff where we already sewed the two sides together. So feel around in there where you sewed and then start stuffing it right in that area. Continue doing the sewing and stuffing technique. That doesn't sound very good, but you know what I'm saying. You should be able to start being able to tell where you're missing some stuffing just by pinching it. and just make sure that every part is filled, otherwise it will become misshapen later on. By this point, you can start finishing off your yarn. So at this point, right now, it just looks like a plain old bagel. Now is the part where we start to make it look like a donut. This is the part where you start to use your fleece or your frosting top. And you start cutting that out. With that part, I just put the donut on top just to get a feel as to how big I want it to be. Initially, I just cut out a square just to make it easier. What you want to do is you're going to want to cut out 2 layers of this fleece. The reason why I did that is because the stitches don't show through as I'm sewing. So when you have 2 layers, you're not going to be able to see those stitches. Now this part, I kind of did it by feel. I took the donut, put it on there just to see how it's going to lay. But I did start with the middle. I just poked my scissors through so that I can start cutting the middle hole here. If you can see through the other side, you know you did it right. Now here I'm doing the edges of the frosting, and basically I did this by feel. So I made a couple mistakes, but in the end it should start to look like frosting. So you want to curve out the edges just like you would see on a regular donut, how the frosting would have little curves on it. You want to replicate that. So this is what I came up with. To me, it looks like a weird egg, but once I have that tacked down on the donut, it's gonna really look scrumptious. Now we're gonna grab our sprinkles colors, and here I started with pink. When we are doing the sprinkles, I just basically sewed it in such a way that it was very random. Nothing was uniform. And you could tie a knot at the beginning if you'd like. And all you need to do is just sew these little tiny sprinkles in a random formation all the way around this. This isn't a science, it's just fake sprinkles, people. So I had a little visitor who wanted to use my table as a detour to where he needed to go in his life. That's Dr. Seuss's nose that you see. He didn't mean to destroy my situation or disturb our video, but he needed to get somewhere and we were in the way a little bit. So just excuse his butt. Bye, bro. So after we finished off our pink little sprinkles here, this is what it should look like. Just really random, kind of like how real sprinkles look like. The next color I used was yellow. We're going to do the same thing. And this is what it looks like so far. Our next color is blue, and we're going to do the same thing as the pink and yellow. So far, so good. Next, we're going to use green, doing the same exact thing. Since green is our last color, it's a good time to heat up our glue gun because we're going to attach the frosting to the donut and we want the glue gun to be heated. Now that looks like sprinkles. At least I think so. So our glue gun should be heated by this point. We're gonna start attaching this frosting to our bagel, quote unquote. I like to start with gluing down our ends of our sprinkle yarn, but I really want to start attaching it towards the middle first. So I put glue on the middle part towards the hole and I attached it there, and then I start doing the ends, and I started to stick some glue in between the two layers of frosting fleece. So I did that so that it would look a little bit more professional. And then there you go. You have a donut. Just don't eat it. Next, we're gonna attach our keychain ring. There's no science to it, but just stay away from that split. This project was really fun. I hope you guys had fun doing it too. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.